Sandeep, when you look at the information warfare and disinformation warfare, the kind of canards Pakistan has been spreading from the DG ISPR to the Prime Minister to the Information Minister to the absolute silence on the Indian side, except that one statement that was made by the Ministry of Defence. Are we losing the narrative war and winning the war on ground?
Well, I'd like to say that, I think we've learned some lessons from Balakot in 2019, 6 years ago, Gaurav, when, there was an information vacuum after Abhinandan's jet was downed inside PoK. It was almost more than 24 hours before a proper statement could come out, before the Tri-Services briefing on South Block could be made. So I think lessons have been learned from there. And today the briefing is going to happen in real quick time. In 10:30 is when it begins. So less than 12 hours after those strikes against PoK terror infrastructure, India, the Defense Ministry is going to come out with a joint statement.
But 5 hours of narrative. I mean, they are saying the number of fighters they are saying are down.
Yes.
The number of drones they say are down. The number of brigades they say have been targeted. And sadly, Air Marshal Khosla, a section of the Western media that preaches to the world, does not practice what it preaches. It's been just taking the Pakistani narrative hook, line and sinker without cross-checking facts with India. It just goes on to indicate that they are a part of that narrative building, Air Marshal.
Yeah, so not only West, West and Pakistan is very, very active in this narrative building and misinformation, I will call, not narrative building. And they say that even in Balakot time, they retracted on quite a few issues, which statements they made, and within hours they had to go back on them. So जो बोलते हैं कि नकल के लिए भी अकल चाहिए होती है. So their credibility goes down because they did nakal without akal. And yeah, you're right. So what happens is, moment any such event happens, a lot of misinformation starts. And actually, there's two ways of looking at it. One is countering it in a mature way, that is should be done. The second is, if you jump into it, like a unplanned this thing, you may be adding fire to it and creating more of a fog of war and misinformation, and which can be damaging also. So these are the two ways of looking at it. In my opinion, a balanced approach should be followed, and a mature approach should be followed.
Fair enough. In about 39 minutes from now, we will have the first basic information. But one fact remains, Sandeep, that the moment an airstrike has happened, or the moment Tri-Services strike happened from India, Pakistan is saying there will be retaliation from their side. All sorts of disinformation and misinformation once again, where they talk about military targets, because we don't have terrorists in our country, we don't have terrorists on our land. So what will they target? They'll either kill our civilians or they'll target a military installation, and that would be escalation.
Absolutely, Gaurav. That is going to be critical. The kind of targets that Pakistan chooses, if it plans to retaliate, for what we've struck at their terrorist targets. We have no terrorist camps on Indian soil. So what it remains to be seen, the kind of targets that they choose will decide the next course of action over the next couple of days, Gaurav. Whether we climb that escalation ladder, or whether Pakistan takes that message and keeps the situation where it is right now, which is that terrorist camps on Pakistani soil have been targeted by the Indian Armed Forces.
There are 44 levels of that escalation ladder, 44 levels. And there has been significant climbing of that escalation ladder, and we'll explain the escalation ladder to you, whether it's a disagreement between neighbors, diplomatic words that are exchanged, to political words that are exchanged, to the use of non-state actors, because that is serious escalation. Pahalgam was serious escalation by Pakistan, where they used radical Islamist terrorists to bleed India. That was serious escalation. Line of control, ceasefire violations, that's taking it one notch higher. That's also escalation, but that's small arms. The use of area weapons, whether it's mortars, whether it's infantry mortars, or it's, a section or a platoon or a company strength mortars, that's escalation. The use of medium artillery, that's 155 howitzers. The use of Bofors, for example, that's another level of escalation, because that is where you target longer distances, up to 45 to 50 kilometers. The 155 52 bore weapon can target, and that's serious escalation, which is just now happening.
Yes. It's definitely one level of escalation up, Gaurav, and I think, like you pointed out, it's the caliber, the bore of the weapons that is going to be, used to retaliate that will actually decide how how many notches up the escalation ladder we are climbing. But it's very clearly all eyes are on Pakistan, the Pakistan military, and the Pakistan deep state to see what they will do next